welcome back to another show. Today I'm going to talk about The Zone of Interest, which is a new Jonathon Glazer film. Now, Glazer did Sexy Beast, Birth, and Under the Skin, and the new one, The Zone of Interest. So he's a director who does not make films often. He kind of works in the films for a while before he gets to making them. He started off doing an adaptation of a play with Sexy Beast. It got a lot of praise, everyone loved it, it was a massive hit, of a British film at least. It was an art house hit, but it was one of those things that was like, it'll get you the next film quite easily. So for his next film he made Birth, which was a film no one got. No one understood it, no one had a clue what it was about. It was just this film that, it was like, starred Nicole Kidman. I thought it was wonderful. I actually liked Birth better than Sexy Beast, but I'm in the minority with that one, and it's beautiful, but it's not for everybody. It took time off because that film did not do well, and just it was not really popular for a little bit. And then he came back with Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson, which is another film that was strange for a lot of people. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I thought it was amazing. It was atmospheric. It was shot in Glasgow, a sci-fi film shot in Glasgow, which doesn't happen very often. And it just had great atmosphere. It's one of those ones you don't want to do a video on because it's probably a bit hard to describe, which we should make a challenge at some point for me. But he's distinctively doing his own thing, and he used the idea of an alien in Glasgow as a look at alienation and how we are with each other, and as well as taking the sci-fi ideas as well, advancing them as what an alien would do in societies such as ours. He came back, like, I think it was 9 years later now, with this one, which is The Zone of Interest, which has been adapted since Under the Skin. It's based very loosely in a Martin Amis novel, but it just took the central idea, because Glazer then went and did his own research into the subject matter and wrote the script, and went through all the hurdles of getting the financing, which is quite hard at the moment, and then try to shoot when we have the COVID problems. So it's one of those ones, like, for any kind of film that's dealing with a difficult subject, it's going to get a bit hard to actually get financing. Because Holocaust movies, which this film is hard to get financing. Even a film on a lower budget, this is not the budget of a Schindler's List or The Pianist. This is much more limited means, but it's for a reason. And so even on a lower budget, this one, which really was a hard sell, because it's about a commandant of Auschwitz, the longest serving commandant of Auschwitz, a guy who was basically hung at the end of the war once he was found by the Allies. There's no way to defend him, there's nothing you can do. He was one of the architects of death. He was one of those guys who was guilty, and he had a family, and the film takes the point of view of what would life be like for his family, because this is how weird this guy was. He moved his family to Auschwitz, and they had a house outside Auschwitz, literally just outside the walls. They had a big garden, they had everything there. And so they could see and hear everything that was going on in Auschwitz. And to him, that wasn't a problem. And to his wife, that wasn't a problem. And the whole thing is, this setup is like, what kind of person could live next to Auschwitz and go to work to Auschwitz and kill millions of people? And who could live with someone who does that? That's the whole idea. And the conclusion is, doesn't take much. Really, it does not. Like, Hoss is a pretty much a very dull person. He's not particularly interesting. He's out for social status the way a lot of people are in life. He's seduced by some of the easier things in life as a way to feel affirmation. Like, his bosses think he's doing a good job. He's He's efficient at his job, completely knowing what his job actually is. And it's just this thing of what do we do in life, and how do we compartmentalize things in life in a way that so it's tied up to just being a professional at your job. And it's quite creepy because the thing we notice more in life is just how much we shut out. Like, this is the extreme version of that. This is like, how much do you shut out of life to have a easy time of it, to like what you like and not have to deal with the consequences of the darker decisions that people are making. And in this case, this is the extreme version. This is like, it's not like a corporate job which may have consequences halfway around the world. This is like next door, you see the consequences of your actions, but it still doesn't bother you. And Hoss was actually viewed as a very unexceptional person by his own people, but he was very efficient, which is why he was viewed as good at his job. As the sense was like, he was a numbers guy. He just was like the mechanic side of it. Is like, how do you improve the death toll per day? How do we do this? How do we do that? And you have him in meetings as he's talking to other people about how do you improve things. You see a bit in it where he's jealous of someone else who's also very good at his job in a meeting, who's getting praised, and he's like doesn't want to clap for her or anything because he's jealous. And it's just that pitiful, ridiculous thing you see in life, but taken to the extreme of the Nazis were just like this as well. They were absolutely petty and human and ridiculous. They weren't the other. They were evil, but they had all the human emotions that we have and all the silly ambitions that we have. And you see his wife, and she's basically the perfect wife if you know the fact that she lives in Auschwitz. She's married to the guy running Auschwitz. She calls herself the Queen of Auschwitz. And she's built a massive garden, but she's built it with using people from the death camps to come and do the garden for her. And doesn't seem to have a problem with that they're doing this to save their own lives. They often be polite to her. She runs a house and have all these different people who are trying to avoid being gassed, having to be polite to her, even though she's a complete monster. Again, she's looking for she's taking advantage of this situation to get everything she's wanted in life. All the petty ambition she has. She finally has a perfect house, a perfect family, and she doesn't think about the cost of it. So again, it brings it back to who pays for your wealth, who pays for your comfort, which is something we are waking up to in life generally. Is like most of our products come from China, and China doesn't have the best human rights record. They all come from various Asian countries or India, which have, overpopulation and people not paid well, so that we can buy our goods cheap. The whole thing about Apple and how much they pay their workers to build the phones is pretty infamous by now. And this, South America as well. The world from the 70s has moved all their industry overseas to avoid to keep the costs down and avoid paying well for it, and basically keeping everyone else in the world their slaves. And it's like, there is a kind of metaphor for that in this film, you can see, but it's a metaphor for human beings. It's not just, oh my god, the white man is doing this. No, this is just human nature. It doesn't matter who you are, it's still human nature. You want what you want, and you want your own comforts. Europe's now pretty multicultural, and everyone wants their comforts, and no one really thinks about who's building and who's paying and how they're paying such cheap prices. And this is the extreme version. They have to the people the Nazis hate have to work as slaves to survive, and most of them don't survive, and it's a death machine. It's extreme version of what we are dealing with in life that we don't ever want to face, because to face up to the fact that you're doing all this for your own petty pleasures, and so you can build your own comfort zone, so you can have, for example, your projector, or this side, your projector, which is from China. You know, it's that thing as you look back at all these electronics. How many of them come from Asia? How many of them are built by people who are not getting paid very well, so I can pay very lot of money for them? You know, we all do it. But this is the extreme version. This is also looking at how people ignore the extreme, because a lot of people can't. I mean, these people have extreme blinders on. The Nazis who live near Auschwitz, like the wife, she's making her children ignore the death screams that are going on all around them. In the background, you're hearing all these noises of the deaths throughout the film that they're ignoring. It's like a low hum of things on in the background. At night time, you can see the smoke coming from the furnaces, obviously killing people. The mother of the wife comes to visit one day. She only takes one day of it because she enjoys the relaxation of the garden, and then at night she hears what's going on and what's actually painful, and she just can't take it. It's like, no, I'm cynical, but I'm not that cynical. But her daughter has no sense of the consequences of her actions, or the consequences of the things she's signed up for, the hatred she's helping to spew around the world. She's her own petty pleasure, her own petty concerns, and that's all she's focused on. And the guy at work, when he takes his family, does have his family, he is just a normal family guy, playing around with the kids, stuff like that, reading the bedtime stories, and reading Hansel and Gretel and not getting the point, and things like that, or repressing the point. And there's another section in reverse film where a girl goes around and puts apples in the areas where the Jews work so they can have something to eat that might not be seen by the guards, so they're not starving to death. You see that in reverse stock. And that's another side of strangeness of the world, because some people around here do know that it's absolutely abysmal what's happening, but this family doesn't. They don't get it. Just the same way, like, some people have a sense of reality and shame for the way the world works and some of the horrific things that happen, and others don't. Others just say, well, poor them, how can I advance myself with this? It's just life. It's not it's something we all do to a degree, but most of us try and kind of be aware of the difficulties of what's going on in the world, but a lot of us aren't. And this is happening in human nature, and it's like, how is evil allowed to go exist in the world? Because most of us don't do anything. Most of us say that's someone else's problem. That's a shame, but, you know, or people like the characters in this film profit from it, at least for a short time. Like, at the end, of course, you don't see the guy getting hung, the guy who run the camp, but you know he gets hung. You know he's doomed. You know all these people are doomed to doing this, but it doesn't take away from their short-term pleasure and short-term advantage, and they're not thinking about anything beyond their needs, and they're ignoring what they're handing down to their children. The kind of the horrors they're handing down to their children, both in what they see and hear, and what they're having to repress. Because there's the point where they're going to the. They're going on a boat to buy the father a boat, and when they're on the boat and they're messing around the water, and then suddenly the outflow from the camp comes, and the father's like, oh, out of the water right now. So he knows what it is. And like, it's just all the waste from the camps, and it's like, and it shows you the corruption of all the beautiful landscape they're playing on just to do this horrific act of pure evil. But the film never looks at it as the film is smart enough to say this is how human beings are. Like, we are the cause. We are not the. It's not outside evil. It's us doing it to us, and us ignoring the consequences of our own actions. It's us. We're the evil ones, but we're not gonna. We're gonna find excuses to avoid being evil, or avoid being seen as evil to ourselves. It's that kind of feeling in the film, and it's a slow build accumulation. So if you're looking for something fast, you're not going to get it. Like Glazer actually is it takes a cloud landsman approach, where you're not going to see any horrors. We're not going to show you it. It's too painful to watch. What we're going to do is we're going to suggest it through sound, and we're going to see it's what you're not seeing is what's important, and what you're hearing, and the context of what you know is happening versus what they're doing, the banality of what they're doing. That's the reality of the film, and that's the reality of their lives, really. Like they ignoring the context of their actions, because we all do it, and we all watch people suffer. Even in our own communities, people suffer far worse than we do usually, and it's like, well, what can we do? And it's like, hope the government's doing well for them, and you know they're not, because look who's in power. Well, who's in power in 2024 early in Britain? They're not going to do anything for these people, or us at all. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to avoid the basics of the construction of the film, because I want you to try and see it. But it is a really terrific film. I'll be surprised if I see anything good this year, but we never know. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be number one, because it is so good. It's so well constructed. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you later. Right, bye.